there's a point of wear that can happen on your pulleys. This is the drive pulley, this is the driven pulley. Now, what I'm going to show you on these is, now the ones that are on my mini bike are still on the bike now, but what I did notice was points of wear. Now, if you see here, when you get on these as hard as you can, so the belt is down here when you're idling, and you know the engagement point on the pulley is somewhere right in here. So when you first start and a lot of the load is placed onto this drive pulley, the surface of the pulley that is really pulling on is like right in here. And then, you know, this area here transitions pretty quickly, and then a lot of the final drive is done right out here. So down in here and right out here are the two main wear points of the pulley. So if you take a flat edge and go, I'm sorry, I was way off camera, and place that along there on a brand new pulley, you can't see any light through. On the pulleys that I currently have on my mini bike, because I've been doing so many hard launches and because they were previously on my drag cart, I have two sets of 40 series, but I was swapping them out. So the one that's on the mini bike now is a True Comet, and it's had lots of hard hours, launches, all that stuff on it. So when I had it off and I was doing some cleaning to some of the pulley surfaces, I think last season, I had noticed there was some pitting on it, which I had sanded off. And then on the driven pulley, I had actually broken this weld. This is not a True Comet. This is a Chinese version, and like I said in the last video, you could tell the Chinese versions by they have the 3 drilled holes. The Comets do not. This is also a Chinese version. You could tell the Chinese versions because they have this flat washer that's bent up. On the True Comet, it is actually stamped. It says Comet Industries around here, and this is actually welded on to the outer housing, and that all unthreads as a unit. Yeah, I actually had broke the weld on the driven pulley and had to go and re-weld that all back on. Also, the keyway, there was a lot of play in it, so the pulley on the keyed axle could move, like, you know, back and forth. And on both the drive and the driven pulleys, there was that noticeable wear when I held the flat edge to it. You know, when you have the belt on these pulleys and it's set up correctly on your bike or your cart, and the proper tension, you need a certain amount of tension on the belt to keep the pulley, to keep this whole system working properly. And it's like a 5-to-1 ratio, so there's 5 times as much tension on the top as there is on the bottom. And all that tension is kept in there by the springs in this unit, by the weights in this unit, and by the speed at which it's operating at. Now, the angles on the pulleys, they have to coincide. So this has a 30-degree symmetrical angle on it, and so does this have a 30-degree symmetrical angle on it, which symmetrical means both sides of the belt have that 30-degree angle. Some of them, like the 20 series, has a flat pulley on one side and the other one's tapered. This one, both sides of it are tapered. So, you know, if there's any wear in that pulley anywhere along the line, like if there's wear here and there's wear here, you know, that's going to cause slip, and then it'll grip, and then it'll slip again. So any abnormal wear anywhere in that system has to be, the only thing it can do is adjust. There's no way, it's not various. It seems like a smart system, but at the same point in time, it's only as smart as it's, you know, as it's built. So if there's any wear within the components, needs time to be replaced. So I am going to be taking some of the original Comet components that aren't worn, probably like this outer shell housing, off the Comet pulley and putting it on this one. The inner pulley has to be replaced. I need this piece of metal here. I also need this piece of metal here. And this is welded to the center rod. On the True Comet, there's a bronze bushing in here, but I've used the ones with and without the bronze bushing. And they both work the same. You know, some people set these belts up, or they buy the belts that are the wrong size, where it's so tight that this belt is actually pulling preload while the engine's idling. If it's like that, you have too small of a belt. It should not be pulling tight on that as the engine's idling. It should actually be sitting really loose on there. Not really loose, but when you're ordering the belts, you measure from center of one pulley to the center of the other pulley, and Comet will send you the appropriate size belt, or there's an appropriate size belt to distance chart out there that's available. And every time I've got it to the size it's supposed to be, there's always a little bit of slack in that pulley system. If the pulleys are tight, if the belt is tight on the pulleys, the belt is too small. You're not going to see any added benefit from having a small belt. It's not going to give you any more power. I've thought about all that stuff. All it's really going to do is cause maybe some creeping issues where the carts or the bike's going to want to creep forward on you due to the fact that it's dragging on this inside. The original Comet does have a bronze bushing in there to try to prevent that, but I've never had an issue with the appropriate size belt on having a creep issue. Unless the idle... unless the springs aren't strong enough and the idle is set too low and your idle of the bike is actually higher than the springs can retain it, and this starts coming out and grabbing the belt, that will also cause a creep issue. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to a 40 series torque converter, you know, you just got to have everything clean. You can't have any slop in your chain. If the bike is, if the 40 series is kind of jumping and engaging and disengaging, feeling like boom, 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 you probably have slop in your chain. There's slop somewhere in the system, and you got to get rid of that. You have to put in a chain tensioner, or, you know, you got to check all your keyways, make sure they're strong. I always wipe down my pulleys with acetone and make sure I'm using clean, strong belts. But the number one thing is, if there's slop in the system, like if you can move things around and you can see chains turning and stuff like that when they're not supposed to be, that's what's causing that engagement, disengagement feeling. Yeah, I just wanted to put some more video out of the 40 series torque converter. You know, as far as true Comets and not true Comets, they both seem to work the same. I just feel that the non-Comets are just made with inferior, you know, grade materials. I can see some kind of little, I don't know if these are dents or weld marks. I'm gonna have to open this up and see what's going on inside here, but I can actually feel bumps protruding out. But it looks like it was machine welded around. Maybe that was hand welded. But so that's the 40 series torque converter from China. Depending upon which way the rear pulley's going, if it's facing inward or if it's facing outward, I need to swap this spring over to a yellow spring because I run this with the pulleys facing outward. So I run it like that. So you're going to need the yellow spring. If you run it like this, you can use the red spring. But if you swap it out like this, you're going to need the yellow spring. Yeah, I'm going to take all of my... what I use in here is a combination of red springs and some custom ground weights to get my engagement right. But yeah, so this is the 40 series torque converter, Chinese version of it. You can get this, I think I paid $70 something like this, where a true Comet's like $400. That's what I've been using. I'll give you guys some true feedback to see how this exact model holds up, but the one I've been using in the past seems to work fine. So this is Paul from Paul's Karts. Just wanted to bring you some information about this 40 series torque converter, and until next time, you guys have a good day.